Okay, so this video is going to give you a very brief overview of how to set up your worm factory, your indoor worm composting bin. The setup should really occur probably 2 to 3 days before the worms actually arrive. In the email with this video attached, I'll let you know when the worms are actually going to arrive. But in your classroom, you should have acquired by now, or what should have been sent to you, is a box with the worm factory, a book entitled Worms Eat My Garbage, and another box with what would appear to be bricks in it, but what is actually coconut husks, okay, referred to as coconut coir. This is the material that we're going to set up, soak with water, and that the worms will actually begin to bed in. But first things first, let's take a look and see what's actually inside the box that the worm factory came in. You'll see that we have this little jobber here, which is called the worm ladder. We have the lid itself to the worm factory. Set those things aside. We have the base. And you know what? I'm just going to let the base sit here for right now. The base doesn't really require any assembly, other than you just want to make sure that the spigot is closed. As the worms eat your garbage or eat the green matter, a lot of water is produced because a lot of what we're going to be putting in here contains high percentages of water. One of the things you just want to be cautious of is to make sure that periodically you open the spigot. A black substance will come out that is affectionately referred to as worm tea. This is actually a material which is, well, pretty highly sought after by horticulturalists because of the fact that it's very, very rich in nutrients. So you can empty that off, put it in a can, and then walk around, feed your plants. One of the things you just want to be cautious of is as this gets going, say you were to throw a couple heads of lettuce in here that had rotted or that you just wanted to get rid of, they contain a significant amount of water. So this can actually overflow, in which case it will stink, especially if you get it in the carpet in your office. I wouldn't know anything about that, but it does smell pretty strong after several days. The other thing that it can do is if you don't have it set up properly, it can actually begin to drown some of the worms because they'll just be too wet. So you'll notice, and once this gets set up, you'll sort of understand some of the processes that occur. We also have a basic instruction guide, so if you don't want to watch me anymore, you can turn me off and watch the video there. We have a bag here. In this bag is a bunch of newspaper. We have a CD, which you can watch also. We have some pumice. We have a very handy little fork for playing in the sand. We got this for scraping. We also have another one of these bricks of coconut coir. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to open this up, take it out, and I'm going to plop it in a bucket, and you might not be able to see it, but what I have here is just a bucket of water. So as this sits, you're going to see that it expands significantly, and you know, as it expands, it collects and absorbs some of the water. This is is used to collect some of the, as I mentioned, this is actually pretty snazzy. The last one I had didn't have this guy. So this can actually be used to collect that worm tea that I talked about, and then you can actually water things with it. So we'll set that aside. It's not necessary to have that right now. You also have a thermometer. The temperature of the worm factory should stay somewhere between 40 and 80 degrees. If you have it in a window, just like when we talk about setting up aquariums, you don't want to have this in direct sunlight, because as the worms are beginning to eat and digest organic material, they get warmer. So just remember, between 40 and 80 degrees, try to keep it out of direct sunlight. The other items that you'll have are 4 trays. And really the only thing we only need one of these right now. I'll actually set the other 3 aside. We won't be using those actually probably for at least a month. I'm actually going to set this off here so you can see what I'm doing with this guy right here. This is where we're going to put the majority of our bedding material, let it sort of sit, and then wait for the worms to arrive. So, we have a lot of garbage here. Let's see, the first thing that we want to do because this obviously has a lot of holes in it, we don't want a lot of our bedding to be falling through. So I'm going to take some newspaper. The bead works well. And I'm just going to line the bottom of this first tray with the newspaper. Now, one thing you need to realize is that this should be very low stress. Okay, they're worms. They don't really require a tremendous amount of tension. We don't have worm tenders out in nature, and they seem to be all over the place. So, you know, don't stress over this, or you know, spend a tremendous amount of time worrying that you're going to kill these guys. They're pretty resilient. Let's see. So I'm going to put down just a little bit more. This will allow the water to drip through, but not some of the other material we're going to put in here. Okay, so a couple things that we probably should have with us. I went outside a little while ago, collected some leaves. The leaves I got are dry. You can get them, you know, wherever, outside. And I would shy away from like grass clippings and things. We just want a little bit of organic material, perhaps leaf litter, as we'll refer to it affectionately, to add into the coconut and the newspaper shreddings that we're going to have, just so that it has something to digest and makes them feel a little bit like they're at home, so to speak. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to see how my coconut stuff here, oh yeah, look at that, beautiful. Okay. So that little brick that I added in here has already absorbed all the water. Before I ruin yet another tie, let me toss this in here. Okay, so I'm going to wring out some of the water. You can see it holds a lot of water, which is fine. I'm basically going to line the bottom, okay, let the water just sort of wring out, and throw this in here. Then I'm going to take my bag of newspaper here, throw that in here as well. They do eat paper, so since we're looking to be green, I'll just rip this up. Throw this in here. Alright, I'm going to take some of my leaves. Alright. Mix that up. Oh, very nice. Looks like a great home for worms. Okay, take the rest of this. This looks messy, but it really isn't. Okay. Throw that in, and then just keep filling in the rest of this stuff here. Okay. Now, the other item that we have that came with our kit is this bag of pumice. The bag of pumice is actually used to provide some gritty material that the worms have a tendency to like. I'm not going to use the whole bag in this particular tray. Only about half the bag. There we go. And then mix this up. You'll see the newspaper on the bottom has started to get wet, and that this is becoming just a nice little mix of the coconut stuff, which retains some moisture, the leaves that we have in there, and that bag of shredded newspaper and paper. Alright, marvelous. Now, at this point, if we had the worms, we could probably put them in, but one of the things I like to do is do this a day or two ahead of time, just so it can sort of stabilize itself and you don't have dry spots and wet spots. This will just get nice and moist. And I'm just going to keep talking while I throw in the rest of this stuff. There we go. Great. So we mix that all around. And the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to place a cover, so to speak, on top of this. Now, worms, the worms that we're going to be getting are referred to as red wigglers. They're tiny little guys. They're not like the huge night crawlers that we see crawling around after rain on the cement. They are what we refer to as top feeders, meaning they come up to the surface of whatever their bedding material is to eat. So when we take our food that we're going to be putting in here, or our compost material, our green waste, we basically just lay it on top. The worms come up, they eat, and they're happy, our waste is gone, and that's that. They make wonderful compost. But we do know that worms don't like sunlight. So if we throw our organic material that they're going to be eating up here and just put the top on, every time we open the top, or if there's any light or changes, even if we turn the lights on, some of that light penetrates and they have a tendency to shy away from the light. So what we're going to do is just take some more newspaper and create a covering to go over this whole thing. In addition to providing just a nice dark atmosphere for them, it also helps to retain some of the moisture. And again, this newspaper will eventually break down and be eaten up by the worms, and it all just turns into what we will be using as compost. So this is it. At this point, this is all you really need to do until the worms come in. The other thing that you might want to be thinking about doing is just getting a couple handfuls of green waste. So the cafeteria, believe it or not, uses vegetables and fruits. They can supply that for you. We can start talking to the kids. I wouldn't have them bring in materials just yet, because initially, for the first couple weeks, the worms are sort of just getting acclimated and aren't going to be turning over a tremendous amount of green waste. So we'll probably just need a couple handfuls that are available for them. We'll stick that in one of the corners, and when the worms come in, I'm going to use this same setup that I have right here and show you how to get them acclimated to their new home and ready to be productive garbage munchers. So last but not least, I'm going to take this guy right here, which is referred to as our worm ladder. Okay, I'm going to put this down here just so we can recall where it is essentially. At this point in time, it's just a nice convenient place for it. I'm going to take this tray, set it on top. Okay, so we have this set up here, and so that we don't lose too much of the moisture, take my fancy lid here, place it on top, and we are all set. If you have questions, complications, anything that comes up, don't hesitate to give me a call, 3143. And in the event of a worm emergency, I'll stop by your building and make sure we're all set. Great. Have a good day.